This is the story of the unstable hills just south of San Francisco that are falling into the ocean.
Hey now, take a step outside and seize the day now.
Hey, good morning. So today we're coming to you from Devil's Slide. This is a very interesting place just south of San Francisco. And what it is many years ago, Route 1 started falling into the water and there's a bunch of landslides. So the engineers decided to bypass this section of Route 1 and build a tunnel under the hill. So we're going to walk the old Route 1. So what they did is turn the old Route 1 into a park, and you can walk it with some spectacular views. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. It's a little bit of a walk, but the views are worth it. Yeah, so what we're doing, we're walking on the old Route 1. This is now a pedestrian walkway closed to traffic because they have the tunnel instead. And it's a good hike. We did this several years ago.
Yeah.
Before we moved to South Carolina. And since moving to South Carolina, we've been walking like 6 miles a day. So we'll see if it's any easier this time. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
All right, beautiful day today, 72 degrees. So the ground around here is very unstable along the coast. You can see it in the way the rock is. The rock is straight across, and then down here it starts to shift on angles, and that's because things are constantly shifting and falling, and that's why they have so many landslides, and that's why this road had to be closed. The big problem is that the hills around here are made up of sedimentary rock, and this type of rock is not very strong. Wind, rain, the pounding of the Pacific Ocean, and shifts in the tectonic plates underneath all contribute to the landslides. Now let's continue our walk. Now as you round the first bend, you'll see your first glimpse of the Pacific Ocean. After our initial stop to take in the views, we then continued our walk. The Devil's Slides trail that we're walking is 1.3 miles long, and there are parking lots on either end of the trail. It runs north and south right along the Pacific, so there are great views all along the trail.
Hey, check out the view on the curve.
Glad we're walking this and not driving, aren't you? As the cliffs fall into the Pacific, you can see how close the roadway has come to the edge. Now there's one other factor that contributes to the instability of the ground around here: earthquakes. So you may not know, but right along this area, right off the coast, is the San Andreas Fault. It runs right along here, which of course makes this area prone to earthquakes. Adding to the instability of the ground. The San Andreas Fault is where the Pacific and North American plates meet. That fault, as well as others in this area, are the reason that there have been some devastating earthquakes in the past. Now, before this section of Route 1 was closed, engineers did try to stabilize the hills around it. You can see years ago they installed chain link fences to kind of control the landslides. Take a look at this. But it wasn't only Route 1 that suffered from the softness of these hills. That story next. Now just north of Devil's Slide is the town of Daly City, which sits just south of San Francisco. At one time, Daly City was known for its pig farms. But development in the 1900s changed all that. However, the unstable hills along the Pacific Ocean made the change difficult. In 1905, the Ocean Shore Railway Company built a line south along the Pacific from San Francisco. But because of the unstable cliffs, the line fell into the ocean. After that, a roadway was constructed roughly along the same path as the train line with great views of the Pacific Ocean. And you guessed it, it fell into the Pacific. In the 1950s, cool cars were in, and so is the idea to build affordable homes in Daly City. Unfortunately, some homes were built a bit too close to the Pacific Ocean on the unstable cliffs. As a result, over 30 homes fell into the Pacific or had to be demolished. One example is Westline Drive, which used to extend more to the left in this photo until the road fell into the Pacific. And Lynvale Court. If you look closely, you can see how the road and the homes at the end of this court are gone. Curious to see what these roads look like today, we took a ride over. The court before Lynvale looks perfectly fine. But Lynvale Court is mostly missing. You can see the fences are up to keep people off the unstable cliffs. I took a walk to the end of the court to see what I could see. As you could see, the sidewalk and road abruptly end. It looks like they fell right into the Pacific. That looks like it was someone's driveway, and the cracking shows that the cliffs are still sliding down. And look at the jagged edge of the roadway, which was once the court. And do you see that old rusted pipe sticking out? I bet it was once the water line. Here's another pipe sticking out from what looks like an old foundation. Clearly you don't want to build on these cliffs. Now let's head over to Westline Drive. This road once continued straight towards the Pacific, but now it ends abruptly. The homes that were on this end of the road are now gone forever. We did find a weather-beaten plaque with one of the addresses. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Until next time, safe travels.